Oh boy, another edition of Darren Wakes Up to Some Bullshit. This one, at least, is a little bit more complex than the last one. So I gotta ask you guys a question. At what point does compassion become an evil? This is a question we should ask ourselves very frequently when dealing with progressivism, because it's a very fine line, and yet it gets crossed every single day in this country. Because ultimately, progressivism is attractive to people because it promises compassion, universal betterment. But the question that nobody asks, the reason why progressivism, is based on greed and malice, is because nobody realizes that money doesn't grow on trees. There ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. We got bills to pay. We got mouths to feed. And ain't nothing in this world is free. In order to give, you must take. Not to be like a weeb or anything, but anybody ever heard of the law of equivalent exchange? It's more like the law of equal and opposite reaction. Resources don't come from nowhere, folks. You have to take from somebody to give. Now, in talking about this issue, we got to talk about Dallas District Attorney John Creuzot. At least I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. This is a guy who is formerly from New Orleans. He's been a judge and a defense attorney and all that shit, and he is sort of a lot like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and late last year managed a narrow primary win to become the new district attorney of Dallas. Looking back at this guy's record, you'd think that he's a pretty exemplary, positively progressive litigator, or whatever the fuck you call him. According to some of his websites, his primary focus had first been reducing mass incarceration. This is a good thing. A lot of the positive notes on his work record has to do with him trying to fight against the drug war, against criminal recidivism, a lot of reforms against first-time drug offenders not being given so much goddamn fucking prison time. These are all good things, really good things. So why are we talking about District Attorney John Creuzot like he is evil? Because progressivism never knows its own limitations and never knows what the greater good actually is. John Creuzot is all over the news because he's instituted a new policy for his prosecutorial office now, where he is at least expressing a desire to the committees and review boards of Dallas that he will not be prosecuting theft up to the value of $750 if his office believes that the theft was due to necessity and not motivated by personal gain. So he was asked by members of the committee, like, okay, say a bunch of people are out stealing diapers, say a bunch of people are out stealing food, how do you expect, say, a single store to recoup their losses if 6 people in a day decide to take advantage of your new system and steal even just one item each? How is this person going to recoup those losses? Of course, John Creuzot has no answer for this, because unfortunately, as much as he wants to show compassion to people who are stealing out of need, presumably the selling point is people who steal out of starvation or providing for their children. Oh, won't you think of the children? The question he can't answer is, how does the victim of theft have any recourse under your jurisdiction? What are you going to do about the consequences of your compassion? Well, John Creuzot, like all progressives, do not want to answer. What will you do about the consequences of your compassion? In the same way that progressives never want to answer, if you want to tax the rich to the point where they're not the rich anymore, what are you going to do when the rich leave? Huh? If your entire tax plan is fuck it, rape it right out of the rich people, and the rich people leave, what are you going to do when your main source of money is stealing from the rich, and the rich leave your jurisdiction, leave the tyranny of your jurisdiction? God damn it, my air conditioner's so obnoxious. Let me fix that real quick. What are you gonna do if they decide to just fuck off? Of course, that's not gonna completely get rid of the noise of that fucking godforsaken thing. I got a wind turbine sitting in my garage. Air conditioning this place. You need it in South Florida. California and New York are both in crisis because they can't seem to figure out how to fund any of their mismanaged work projects and shit in the city. And their idea is, hey, fuck the rich people. And the rich people are saying, hey, fuck you, I'll go somewhere else. But John Creuzot's policy is a lot more sinister because he doesn't have any answer. And he's not just saying, hey, we're going to legislate unfair tax. He's saying, me, a member of the judicial system, is going to unilaterally, without any input from the taxpayer, without any input from the citizenry, without any input from the legislature or the executive branch of Texas, me, a judicial literal fucking tyrant, and I do mean literal, this is the definition of tyranny, as we have a system of checks and balances. You have the voter public. You have the executive branch. You have the legislative branch, which is beholden to the voter public, and the executive branch, which is elected by the voter public. And then you have the judicial branch, whose job is not to create the law, but to enforce it. Is saying, I'm going to unilaterally, as a tyrant, legalize theft so long as I personally, John Creuzot, think the theft is justified. That's what you're looking at. This is why I say that progressivism is an evil, because it is tyrannical, because it's an expression of violent force. And believe it or not, you can say what you will about taxation is theft and yada yada yada, and we could talk about the social contract and that and debate that kind of idea all day long. But you can't debate the violence of basically declaring open season on anyone and everyone. Basically, the abolition of personal fucking property. That you do not have the rights to the things you own if District Attorney John Creuzot doesn't think that you deserve them more than the thief who steals from you. From the larcenist, from the fucking goddamn breaking and entering person, the shoplifter, the burglar, the mugger, doesn't matter. If he thinks, oh, this person stole up to $750, which, you want to talk about another thing progressives are supposed to be standing up to, consider the person who doesn't think $750 is a drop in the bucket. Because I got to tell you, you make $25 million a year, $750 ain't shit. You make $25,000 a year, or even $50,000 a year, or hell, even $100,000 a year, $750 ain't nothing. That's a big-ass chunk of paycheck. So, how the fuck does this guy reconcile this? When he has a track record, at least on paper, for me, doing my little 10 minutes of Google Foo before airing this video, say, oh, I like fighting against the drug war. Oh, I like this, that, and the other thing. And fucking, yeah, maybe there is some prosecutorial shit that people do wrong when it comes to race. Not usually, though, because every time anybody wants to say prosecutorial shit about race, ooh, it's racism. No, it's unfortunately black people are more likely to be multiple time offenders. Criminal recidivism is a thing. Prior arrests. History of violence or whatever the fuck. These are mitigating factors in sentencing that statistic doesn't take into account because it's a dishonest, deceptive, lying statistic. But of course, when in the same little press junket that John Creuzot is talking about, saying, oh, I'm basically going to legalize petty theft, he of course is quick to say the 3 letters that let you know that reason and fairness are not the reason why he's making this decision. POC. This law is designed to help protect and yada yada, uplift the lives of people of color. Do you think John Creuzot's going to be legalizing theft for white people? No, he's not. John Creuzot is saying that if he feels like it, if he likes the din-do-nuffin that's sitting at the defense chair, that he'll just drop charges for shoplifting. He'll just drop charges for criminal trespassing and stealing. He'll just drop charges for embezzlement. He'll just drop charges for grand larceny. Well, actually, no, grand larceny, I think it's $2,000 in Texas. But anyway, just larceny. That no matter who you steal from or what your reasonings are, if you just say, I try to feed my kids, you're good. You're good, Jack. Now, I want to close here, just in case I know I can be a little bit long-winded and not all of you watch till the end here. Here's the solution. You ever heard of a food bank? In Texas, I made some use of some food banks. Growing up in Colorado, I was not always middle class. So there was a point in which I was in straight up poverty. For most of middle school and my first year of high school, I was poor. Single mother who had the bottom fall out on her nice STEM job because somebody decided that we could just, move everything to Mexico, move everything to Sri Lanka and Malaysia and China and Singapore and fucking Thailand, and fuck you, American worker. We're just going to export your job. Bill Clinton. So, there was a period where my mother, while raising me, worked a day labor job, moving like drywall and shit out of office construction spaces for very little money. And we got most of our groceries from a food bank, which all you have to do to go to a food bank, and I assure you, there are food banks in Dallas, is you show proof that you have these kids, they're your dependents. You show proof that you have this job and you make this much money. Couple of pay stubs, couple IDs, and you basically get to go in there and you get to take what would have been priced on the supermarket shelves, probably over $100, depending on how many kids you got. Just me and my mom were walking out of there with almost $100 worth of groceries, maybe $80. A lot of it's generic brand shit or whatever, but they gave us cereal, they gave us milk, they gave us orange juice, they gave us fucking beans, fucking like everything except for like there was never any perishable like meat products or fruit. But we got vegetables, we got grain products, we got bread, we got milk, we got like cooking supplies, we got butter, all that shit. And basically we got to go there like once a week. And that's what's called charity. A church ran that joint. The church ran that as charity off of donations, charitable donations to the public. And it served my needs just fine. And nobody needed to be stolen from. Nobody's rights were violated in order to give me free food. The progressive left seems to have forgotten that charity is a fucking thing that is alive and well in this country. And you have people out there who make a fat fucking paycheck that are progressives saying, I'm upset that Trump cut my taxes. I want the government to take my money because the government at like 10% fucking efficiency. You give $100 to the government and they spend 90% of it on bureaucratic bullshit and 10% on the person that you want to be taxed on behalf of when your dumb, cunt, worthless, stupid, progressive ass could walk to a food bank and give $100 to the food bank that will use way more than 10% of it to buy food and put it in the mouths of the unfortunate. Probably somewhere between 70 and 100% of that money is going to go into the mouth of a hungry child. There was always administrative costs to charity, and there's always somebody skimming off the top. But you can see a government skim 90%, or you can see a charity skim 30%. And you can give as much or as little as you want, progressive, to charity. But do progressives donate their time to charity? Not usually. Do they donate their money to charity? Almost never. And do they really want to be taxed that much? No. Because they're always saying, not my tax bracket, motherfucker. You can go knock on the taxman, go knock on the door of the guy 1 or 2 rungs up the ladder. Not me. Not me. Not me. All the way up to the progressive CEO who says, oh, I love people of color and yada yada this and yada yada progressive platform that. And when the taxman comes and knocks on his California office door, that motherfucker moves to Texas. And you're wondering why Texas is turning purple as we speak. Because all the people who ruined California and ruined Oregon and ruined Washington have moved to Texas so they don't have to pay anywhere fucking in the goddamn same galaxy as much taxes. But when it comes to start voting, what do they vote for? Give me the new Washington. Give me the new Oregon. Give me the new California. And then they wonder why things go to shit. They don't think about the consequences of their actions. They're nothing but empty, vapid, vacuous, virtue-signaling fucking liars. How many times do I have to say all progressives do is lie 100% of the time without exception? Oh, I don't want to prosecute these people because I want to cause as little harm and I want to adjudicate as little people as possible, and I don't really think that these people are doing what? What do you not think these people who are stealing $750 worth of food, what do you think they're not doing? I don't think they're harming anybody. You're a fucking liar! Yes, they are! It's an uncomfortable truth. You don't like to think about the disadvantaged person that steals to survive, but it's not a victimless crime. But it's not a victimless crime. What is the solution? Voluntary charity is the solution. Give not to the tyrannical government, which at most times, if there's one thing progressives are right about, is that government does equal tyranny. That most of the time, the guy in the suit with the fucking title on his name is a pig with unjustified power who wields it unjustly. And the solution is not to give the pig more power, you stupid fuck. The fucking solution is to strip the power from the pig and put it back in the hands of the public. And that's not putting a Molotov cocktail or a black mask on the public. That's putting the money back in the wallet of the public, not in the wallet of the pig, you fucking retard. Vote conservative. Thanks for watching.